to today's live chat, which is coming to you from Camp for You actually, Wrocław, Poland. I'm in Szczecnica. I'm now walking on one of the dikes protecting the town from the River Oder overflowing. As always, as this is a live broadcast, please to keep the language suitable. I put up a video day before last on electric vehicles, and whereas I'm pretty pro-electric, not everybody is. So why I thought it'd be a really good thing, to discuss some of the the ideas I put out contrary to my arguments. So obviously I'm presenting arguments I don't actually agree with, which is always a good intellectual test. And so for those who disagree with me, I hope that they'll be able to join in. What would be really good, hello Jason and Mohammed, what would be really good is to actually have a panel or something like that, like they do on the television. But I don't really know how to set that one up. Anyway, so the first thing is, okay, first of all, about electric motorhomes. So that's what I want to talk about, because I said, is it fact or fantasy? That's what I should have written in the title. Is it possible or fantasy? Right, there are plenty of electric cars. Many people watching us have electric cars. Electric cars are all over the place, and so that is not the issue. The issue here is to talk about electric campervans and motorhomes. Now, there are, of course, plenty of electric vans floating around. Now, if you've got a business, for example, today I'm on the campsite, and I offered to help out last night, so if anybody came in late, they could call me. Anyway, this morning I got the bread delivery person, because we're having a bit of a party. Hello Annie, having a bit of a party here this evening to start celebrating the start of the heating season. Wouldn't have thought that was something to celebrate, but anyway, having a start celebrate, and the baker came round, and I signed for the bread that was coming in. So the point of me, this little story, pointless story, is that companies like bakers, you've got a baker or something like that, and he's taking his bread around. That's a great business for where an electric van might come in. For example, also courier companies, things which are knocking around town. If they're doing, say, up to 100 kilometers a day, and maybe in a town like this that is realistic for a delivery company, then electric makes a lot of sense. Well, I say a place like this, it could be a journey of, say, 15 kilometers there and 15 kilometers back. Maybe it wouldn't come back, I don't know. But anyway, certainly in small towns anyway, maybe smaller than the one here, Wrocław, then it does make it makes sense. So from that point of view, that's clear. But for motorhomes, and it is that even somebody like myself, who doesn't really like driving all that much, occasionally has to have a long go. But I mean, most people who may own a motorhome or an RV as a second vehicle, they go on holiday and they have to take it a very long way in one go. And electric, then, how realistic is that? Now, Hymer have said that they'll start looking at electric once range gets to 500 kilometers. And I'd have to say this, in my opinion now, that's looking pretty realistic. When I started taking interest in this, the range was about, the maximum was about 150. Now Ford Transit has got a range of over 300 kilometers. So I think that in time that this is going to be perfectly possible. Obviously, it depends on making the batteries more and more efficient. As things stand, it's approximately 3 kilometers to 1 kilowatt for a camper van sized and weighted vehicle. Approximately, very, very approximately. The point though is the weight of the batteries, and I think. I'm doing a quick calculation in my head. I just thought of this one. It's approximately 1 kilo of battery will get you about half a kilometre. Or something like, yeah, roughly that. So you need 2 kilos worth of batteries to get you. So if you're thinking of going 300 kilometers as technology is at the present, you're looking around 600 kilos worth of batteries. If that is incorrect, please correct me. And not only that, it'll be in the comment section below, because when you do a mathematical calculation like that, it doesn't always work. So so that is the big thing. By adding more and more weight for the batteries, you're not necessarily going to get the thing to go much further. So that's point one. Now point two is this: in the back of my van I've got a canister of fuel always. Why? Just in case I run out. When I was coming here, I was on the motorway, the A4 in Germany. I went past one fuel station, but the dial was very, very low. But I thought that, okay, the light hasn't come on yet, so I'll just keep going. Now, the thing was, there was no filling stations for the next 53 kilometers. For some reason, I thought there was one a bit closer. And I had anxiety of running out of fuel. And in fact, when I got to the end, I put 69.7 litres into my van. Now, according to everything I've looked up, my van is supposed to have an 80-litre tank. But the thing is, I believe it's got a 65-litre tank. And so I came very, very close. If it's 65 plus 5, 70 litres. So, I mean, there was next to no, if another 2 kilometres and I'd have been out of fuel, which is not a good thing with a diesel engine. So there's that. This is the anxiety. And if the anxiety is going to affect the way you perform and your enjoyment of your journey, then you start to have another the motorhome is supposed to be something you enjoy. It's not something which is meant to be necessarily practical, not something you use because you need it for your work or something like that. And then why have this motorhome? So the anxiety is really, really important. Now, some of you may have noticed in videos that I do, and I stand in front of a mirror, and you can see I wear a bag round my waist. So what's in the bag? Well, this is a big, I'm sure lots of people are wondering this, and in the bag you'll find my glasses case, pens, and at least 3 battery chargers, because the battery, I feel as though I'm filming things or whatever, and I want to make sure that the phone is always charged. And I've recently also taken to using carrying a plug as well with me, and so I've always got this in my mind that I might need to charge the phone. But what's it like with the vehicle? I mean, when do you start worrying? Do you start worrying at 50%? Or 40% or 30%, I don't know. So that is a really important reason against electric vehicles. It's the anxiety. Next point, I think, which is against it, is the cost. Now, to buy an electric vehicle up front, there's a video, I can't don't know if it's actually been uploaded. I think it has been uploaded from Reisemobil, where there's a discussion. There's the cost of the vehicle, which I think was 53,000, and there's the extra bit for the electrical setup. That's 36,000. Now, if 36,000 actually covered all of your diesel for the lifetime of the vehicle, that would be one thing. But you know, electricity also isn't free. I mean, it's a lot cheaper on a kilometers per euro, whatever, miles per dollar or whatever, pound, but it's not free. And so particularly if you have to go, you know, you use these fast charging units and all the rest of it. So that is also something to be considered. Now there was point made also, and this is really ultra important, is right. So I'm suggesting that people buy a van, and then they sort of, as they're traveling anyway, they go from campsite to campsite. Well, actually, I'm not suggesting that, and there's a good reason why I'm not suggesting that. Depends on the country, but in many countries there's a limit on the amount of electricity you can actually draw from the electrical points, and not only that, it tends to be twice or three times the price. So if there is a limit of, let's say, 6 amps, which is quite normal, I mean, I was in one place in Germany, it was 40 amps. I mean, you could just about run a power station on that. Just a little joke, but you know, it's not 6 amps. I mean, it's probably going to be quicker loading up on solar. It's really, really slow, and so that, obviously, the idea that you could stop for the night at a campsite and charge up. What I think would happen, actually, if there were the requirement, is that the campsites would change to the market requirement, and then they start putting in fast charging stations and the like. Obviously, it would be a bit of extra income for them, so I don't think that would stop them. But there's always this time between when the first person has the vehicle and the technology is introduced to allow for them to use. So this is the problem. You remember what it was like years ago? They say, well, there's no point in building bike tracks because there's no bicycles. And then people say, well, there's no point in riding a bicycle because there's no bike tracks. Anyway, today there's cycle tracks all over the place. I don't know how that came about, but there is. So, but it's a similar situation. Now, the next thing is that, and this is a really good point as well, I'm into saving the planet. So I want to do things which I think are ecologically sound. The point of ecology is obviously it affects our standard of living. And so my grandparents, for example, may have had to live in, or even parents for that matter, live in an industrial town that was contaminated with the unfiltered junk that's coming out of chimneys, and that affected their health. And so I don't see here, for example, in Poland today, I mean, even today still is plenty of places where people live longer than they do in others. I mean, you don't have to go very far to the east. You can come to Russia, and there's places where the average longevity is under, in fact, in the mid-50s, because of the contamination and all this. Okay, they're extreme examples, I know, but what I think is the best for the environment is clearly electrical. But if you're burning coal to get that electricity, then it doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. I mean, you may as well just stick coal in your vehicle. Well, cars don't run on coal, but they do run off another hydrocarbon, which is petrol or diesel. So there is this as well. So I'm trying to put this very logically. I mean, when you see things like, for example, electrical vehicles that are broken down because they've run out of electricity. Sorry, so they haven't broken down, but they've run out of fuel. And somebody comes up in a petrol-driven car with a diesel-driven generator to get them up again. It's a bit absurd. It's defeating the object of why it's there in the first place. So these, I think, are the arguments against the electrical vehicle. Now, as I say, though, I'm really pro-electric. So I accept that to get from the state we're in now to a state in the future where it will be possible to have electric vehicles which are powered by free, no, not free, but solar and wind and all the rest of it, then oops, there's the gimbal off again. Gimbals the gimbal, I've got a new gimbal, and the problem with the new gimbal was that it didn't arrive. It arrived last night, and I still haven't had a chance to find out how it works. This is still on the old one. Oh, there we go, it's up again, up and running again. So unless things are actually tried out and experimented on, then we won't get to the stage. So I think for the moment, as long as people are knocking around delivering bread and letters and parcels in electric vehicles, that might lead to improved technology to get us further into the electrical motorhomes. Now, I do also incidentally accept the fact that the batteries that comes from nickel, which might be obtained in an unecological manner, and the blades from the windmills may be produced in an unecological manner, etc., etc. Yeah, I accept all that, but it's a case of moving from what is non-ecological to an ecological future. It was a very good historical quote, I'm trying to think of it. The Industrial Revolution, which caused all sorts of damage to the planet in its first 150 years or so, then may actually be able to repair that damage, but at the same time as giving us all a better standard of living. And I think that at the end of the day is what it's all about. So there you have some of my opinions on this subject. I thought that the idea of actually discussing a video based on some of the comments on the video would be, it's quite a good idea. I don't know how often I'll be able to do it, because when you're doing something like motorhomes, unless something's really controversial, then it's not absolutely possible to think of something to do the video on. I'm not suggesting, of course, that electricity is a controversial issue. I think that many people do want it, but there are those who believe it to be a con, and I think it's best to actually meet these arguments head on and try and find a resolution to it. So thanks very much for watching. Last night's video was about the Hymer Grand Canyon camper van, and there were some comments there about how good its insulation is, or rather more at the point, there isn't any insulation. And to be quite honest, I never checked. You know what, caravan salon, I was going down checking some of the other vans there. It was Hymer. I thought, oh, Hymer will have insulation. I didn't check. It's very easy, but I didn't do it. I just assumed that it was insulated. Okay, so thanks to those who to make these comments and to know. There was one thing, actually, I did a video of a Naus van. No, I don't like Naus at all as a company, but there was somebody there who was wanting to buy it, and she asked me about the insulation, and I took her around the back, and I knocked it, and I said, no, that's not insulated. I even assumed that was insulated. I don't know why, but it turned out it wasn't. So anyway, we'll do this on a different video. I really want to talk about electricity. So you can see, wonderful sunny, not summer, autumn day here, last day in September, and I've got my new 160 watt solar panel outside on the front of my car, which I'll show you in another video, and that is keeping my computer powered. Okay, so I'll show you that in a different video. Thanks so much for being here and watching. All the best from me. Tonight, 21:15, there's a video on a vehicle, and I can't remember which one it is, but anyway, it'll be there. Bye for now.